Welcome to another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. I'm your host, James, and I've told you several times before that I'm an opportunistic type shopper, which basically means when I go into a shop, oftentimes I end up walking out with something based on something I see that tickles my fancy if I have money in my pocket. Well, on this particular day, I went into one of my favorite gun shops, and I had the intention of buying a Sig Sauer P238 to replace the one that I sold a couple of years ago. Well, as it turns out, it had sold earlier that day, and instead, when I browsed the shop counters, I ended up finding this really nice Smith & Wesson J-frame instead. And the good thing was, it was less expensive than the P238 was. So this is a 1968 or 1969 year of manufacture Smith & Wesson Model 36 with no dash on the frame. So this was one of the original, it's not the first generation that had the flat latch. It's really kind of the second generation when they started calling them the Model 36 versus the Chief Special. And it has the hammer-mounted firing pin. It has the very narrow blade front sight. And overall, this gun is just in excellent condition. So you can see that it has those Smith & Wesson banana grips on it. I'm not sure if those are made from the factory or if they were added after the fact. I believe a guy named Goncalo Alves made similar ones to these, but these do have the Smith & Wesson insignia on them, so they could have been a factory option. Now, it also came with this Buckheimer belt slide holster. I'm not really fond of these holsters. They do have adjustable tension, but there's no real retention strap or anything else on them to keep the gun in, and they just don't seem quite as secure as something that either has a retention strap around the back of the gun or something that at least is a little bit taller and more snug on the frame of the gun. I believe these have a piece of spring steel in them to keep tension on the gun that, again, you can put some more tension on by tightening up the screw on the side of this. The action of this gun is extremely tight, it is extremely well made, and everything that I can tell from looking at this gun indicates that it has been carried a really long time and shot very infrequently. Other than a little bit of wear on the muzzle in the bluing, the rest of this gun is in exceptional condition. The bluing of the frame, the bluing of the cylinder, even the frame underneath the grip has really no issues in the bluing. There's no rust, there's no spotting. There's nothing that indicates that this gun was shot a whole lot either. It doesn't have any powder burns anywhere. It doesn't have any buildup around the barrel. It doesn't have the telltale signs of the rounds hitting the back of the frame from being fired a lot. A lot of times it'll leave a bunch of rings around where the firing pin is and on the back of the frame. And this is a pinned barrel. So to me, these are about the most appealing J-frames that you can buy. I have a Model 36 no-dash square butt that is, similar vintage to this one. That's all original as well. Not in quite as nice condition as this one. But honestly, this is the first Model 36 snub nose round butt that I've ever had. I had a Model 37 years ago that was the ultralight frame, and that one was really beat up. It looked like somebody had tried to take the barrel off at one point. The sight was really marred up, and it had a lot of pitting and kind of corrosion on the frame. Anyone who's been around my channel long enough knows that revolvers are really my favorite guns, and more specifically, snub-nose revolvers. The first gun I ever bought was a Ruger SR22P, and shortly after that, I started looking for Smith & Wesson J-frames. At the time, there wasn't a lot around that was very affordable. The first J-frame snub-nose that I ever bought was my Model 637, which I still have. I bought that in 2015, but what I always really wanted was a snub-nose J-frame with a round butt on it because, TV shows in the 70s and 80s, somebody was always carrying a snub-nose revolver, whether it was Jim Rockford in the Rockford Files. For a while on Hunter, D.D. McCall carried a revolver, a snub-nose revolver, and there's always a bad guy carrying a snub-nose revolver, whether it's a J-frame or a Colt or something like that. But these guns really hold a dear place in my heart. They're fantastic shooters, they're great carry pieces, and this one being a steel frame, the recoil's really not that bad. I can't wait to take it out and shoot it. These grips feel exceptional in the hand. They really feel like it's going to be a great shooter. So thanks for stopping by and watching another video.